While many employees are currently advocating for greater flexibility and a stronger work-life balance, there is another quiet group of workers who are doing the exact opposite. Today, we're going to explore a new phenomenon occurring alongside the Great Resignation and quiet quitting, the trend of overemployment. Hey, and welcome back. My name is Preston. I'm a professional recruiter in the technology industry. From the beginning of the pandemic, as companies around the world adopted remote work policies, there were many who were skeptical of the practice's longevity. For as many people who were singing the praises of working from home, there were one expressing skepticism over how long it would actually last. While many employers have moved past the transition and now successfully operate a remote or hybrid work environment, others still are facing resistance. Some employers are asking for their staff to return to work, only for them to quit in search of something more flexible. You might be familiar with this as the Great Resignation phenomenon. Simultaneously, we've seen the growth of quiet quitting culture, the idea that employees should only put in the bare minimum amount of effort, coast through a job, and spend more time focusing on personal relationships, interests, and hobbies. Both of these issues have their proponents and detractors, but they're indicative of the greater employment struggles we faced coming out of the pandemic, during which employees learned that a greater degree of flexibility could be provided to allow them to focus more on their personal lives. But what happens when some workers use that flexibility not for personal enrichment, but for further professional development? Today, we're going to explore a new phenomenon occurring alongside the Great Resignation and quiet quitting, the trend of overemployment, or remote workers taking on more than one full-time role. But before we get started, please consider supporting a fellow recruiter. Give us a like, subscribe, and click that bell. It really means a lot. You heard that right. While many employees are currently advocating for greater flexibility and a stronger work-life balance, there is another quiet group of workers who are doing the exact opposite. Working multiple jobs is certainly not out of the ordinary. Traditionally, however, an individual was limited in their options. They could have a part-time side gig on top of a full-time role, or work multiple part-time jobs by splitting their time in between them. There are, of course, also freelancers and contract workers who are often working with multiple clients at once. Overemployment, however, is a new phenomenon. Its growth triggered by the widespread adoption of remote work during the pandemic. Overemployment specifically refers to a remote employee working two full-time jobs, receiving a full-time wage and benefits from more than one company. As you can imagine, since the phenomenon has gotten attention, many questions have been raised about its validity. Technically, working two full-time jobs is not illegal. However, the fact remains that we're entering totally new territory here. Simply put, laws weren't written with remote work in mind. So with that, let's look at the arguments for and against overemployment. Is overemployment theft? Overemployment first entered mainstream consciousness about a month ago after Davis Bell, CEO of the cloud-based tax platform Canopy, made a LinkedIn post bringing attention to the issue. He claimed that he had recently fired two employees after discovering they were working more than one role at the same time. He characterized this as a new form of theft and deception, not something in which an ethical, honest person would participate. The comments drew backlash and controversy from some who pointed out that many CEOs such as Elon Musk are in control of multiple companies and frequently lauded for their ability to manage them all at once. Others brought up the fact that working more than one job is common for some people in order to support themselves and their families. Some argue that this new trend of overemployment was inevitable and perhaps necessary in order to keep up with soaring inflation and housing prices. Bell responded in an interview with Business Insider, displaying some sympathy for these working multiple part-time jobs and clarifying his stance. He argued that this was different because the employees were being paid competitive salaries and their performance had become increasingly disappointing. He went on to describe that the employees' peers had been complaining about work not getting done. Additionally, they had been keeping their cameras off during meetings or missing them altogether. Bell described catching onto the scheme after discovering the employees had made their LinkedIn accounts private and what information was available indicated they were working at different companies. While both employees initially denied the claims, Bell confirmed their employment status with their former employers and they were forced to come clean. They quickly lost their positions. Can you identify overemployed individuals? Bell warned using any one warning sign to identify if an individual is overemployed. However, he did lay out some red flags that may indicate it's time to check up on an employee. Their LinkedIn page has not been updated to reflect that they work at your company. In some cases, it may be made private after accepting an offer. The employee doesn't take advantage of benefits. Their camera is off during video calls, slow response times, late or absent to schedule meetings, with no or weak explanation. What's the solution? Overemployment could be one of the most complex issues we faced yet. Our current situation finds employees who want more personal freedom with employers who are struggling to find and retain talent. So during a time where many employers are urging people to work harder than ever before, how can we also scold those who are doing just that? It's important to approach the overemployment issue on a case-by-case basis. In cases like CEO Davis Bell described, in which employee productivity is being severely impacted, it's easy to see how it can be characterized as theft. But what if the employee is performing adequately in both jobs? This isn't like the bait and switch interviews we discussed a while ago, in which candidates are deliberately misrepresenting themselves in an act of deception. Personally, I think we're focusing on the wrong area. Phenomena like the Great Resignation and quiet quitting and overemployment are not problems themselves. They are symptoms of a bigger issue. As employees struggle for greater flexibility and freedom, they also have to contend with rising inflation. These are the issues at hand that we should be dealing with. If an employee has greater freedom, is paid well, and is living in a thriving economy, there should be no need to take additional work. This is the goal that we should be working towards together. This is certainly a contentious topic, and I'm sure you have some thoughts about it. I would love to hear from you. Make sure to leave a comment down below. If you like this video and want to see more like it, feel free to support a fellow recruiter. Please give us a like, subscribe, and click that bell. It really means a lot. Feel free to also follow me at Preston_Park, as I try my best to also post behind the scenes content daily. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you on the next one.